good evening, welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing? This is Real Talk Live with Rodney Grimes. As you know, I told you I was going to have some fantastic guests in today. Believe me, that's exactly what I have, some fantastic guests. First of all, I just want to send out my condolences to George Floyd family. They had his, I believe his funeral was today. And so I just want to send out my love and respect to his family and to all those that have been affected by this dilemma that we've been dealing with over and over and over. But that's another show we'll talk about another time. I definitely want to let everybody know, when you see my Cash App, just be happy because tomorrow my birthday, the big 6-0, you know, do what you do. Things have already started pouring in and I'm happy, but I'm truly blessed to be able to reach that age, and I'm excited about that as well. And this is actually a birthday gift for me because I have these two fantastic individuals in with me today. And I'm just trying to get some things out because once we get going, it's gonna be on and popping. So I definitely want to make sure that for everybody be tuning in that I'm definitely giving you your birthday wishes. We got Gemini's Forever, Vicky, that's my sister-in-law, my grandson Xavion, his birthday is today, and then myself, my birthday is tomorrow. Then one of my sons, Marcus, his birthday is the day after mine, and then my daughter-in-law Millie, her birthday is on the 11th, and then my brother-in-law, him and his twin, no, Butch's birthday is, Butch and Millie is 11/13. And my sister-in-law Millie, and then Ed and Wiener's is on the 22nd. Eric Freeman, 6/22. My daughter Nika's is on the 25th. Felicia's on the 26th. My baby sister's is on the 16th. Murray Jones, who is my next door neighbor, is a much loved and sweet. She's a sweetheart to me. Me and her birthday the same day. Then my grandbaby's father, Jonathan Gardner, his birthday is the same day as mine as well. Then my brother Malik Blandon, that I know he's tuning in, he just had a birthday. And then Bernadette Hargrove, Lynn Peake, Wade Carter, and guess what? One celebrity that I just happened to run across, Kanye. Kanye, yo, give me a call when you get a chance. And last but not least, we also have Penny Taylor, which is a sweetheart of mine from Alexandria, and I know you just had a birthday not too long ago, and I just want to say Gemini's rock, and that's what we do. I'm trying to not forget anything that I know I was going to be able to follow back up on. As we also know that I come on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6:30. Friday is date night. But because of the guests that I have today, and I'm giving you such a treat, and it is my birthday week, I'm not going to come on Wednesday. So, just give you a heads up. Let me introduce my guests. First of all, and I'm going to be a gentleman, I have to start with the lady first. This is Miss Sylvia. Miss Sylvia Traymore Morrison, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Miss Sylvia Traymore Morrison. Actually, she is the American first woman of color impressionist. Now, I hope I said impressionist. Did I pronounce that right?
Impressionist.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. So it is definitely an honor to have you in the presence of my studio. And then we also have, everybody knows, Mr. Andy Evans. You know, this is like, he's one of our heroes, and we're gonna get into that because as I can tell you that part of what I do is because of this gentleman right here. Much love and respect to him because he's just been just doing things forever and ever. So, with that said, I did write notes. I try to stay professional with what I'm doing, but this is real talk. So you know, I don't do no cut cards with you. Sometimes stuff fall, you know what I'm saying? Something happened, or you know, the other day, last week we had problems with the bird in the chimney, and we had to deal with the birds. Yeah, so and then the other day we did the date night and it was hot. The air conditioner wasn't. We was in here sweating bullets, and so it's just been, you know. But what we say is real talk, right? And what we say, people to people, power to power, positive thinking people. Remember, people to people, me, you, and them. The power they possess, the power we possess, the powers that come together, positive and negative. And when you start to do that and you start to take the negative and turn to a positive, then what we come up with is positive thinking people. And that's what Real Talk Live with Rodney Grimes is about. So, Miss Sylvia.
Yes, sir.
I am so excited to have you here. I was going to start off with Andy, but I just my spirit, I go with the spirit. So, pretty much, I am really excited about what you're doing in the DMV right now. So can you give us just a little bit of history on yourself as well? I did take down some notes. You worked with some very lucrative people in your past.
Yeah, it's been a really good journey. But first of all, let me say happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
60 is a big number.
Yes.
And it is a blessing to have that number.
Yes.
And you read off a lot of people's names, and I personally appreciate that because oftentimes many of us forget to acknowledge when people's birthdays are and all of the good stuff.
Yes.
And so, with respect to the happy birthday, everybody! Happy birthday!
How would Whoopi say?
If Whoopi Goldberg was here?
If she was here.
Oh, okay. Whoopi would say, "Okay, let me say this, Robert. Let me just say this. It's your 60th birthday, and you should be celebrating hugely. And I see that you're going to be off on Wednesday, so that's a good deal. And is the wife going to celebrate with you?"
I hope so. Whoopi. I love it. So I mean, now that's when I posted this and I said, amazingly talented, and that y'all just getting a little taste of it because as we go on, we're going to be sharing some information that's going to give you some information on how you're going to be able to follow Miss Sylvia and Andy and some of the things that they're doing in the DMV. So they got some real powerful stuff coming up. Remember, it's live. It's Real Talk Live with Rodney Grimes, and as you always notice, that I have and talent show. See, we've been real serious about everything, but because we know once things open up, we can really expand. So that's another reason why I'm so excited that y'all are here, because now y'all are actually just co-signing the other part of what we've been doing. So, some of the names that I heard you worked with was like you worked with Red Fox.
Red Fox was my first manager. He was my very first person I signed with to have as a manager. It's a big deal.
And also, you did some work with Muhammad Ali.
You going deep, dude.
Yeah.
I actually had the privilege to replace Richard Pryor for the host of Muhammad Ali at the legendary Apollo Theater. Back when he was in his prime, he was just the man, and Dick Gregory was in charge of the board, and Richard Pryor called that same day and said he couldn't host it. And a friend of mine who I went to Europe to entertain the American troops with, this is for the Vietnam War, recommended that since they couldn't find anyone, that they bring me in. And Dick Gregory said, "You know what? Let's do it." So he called me in to replace Richard Pryor.
Come on.
Well, Muhammad Ali, I mean, he was the most popular man in the world, and pretty much the only other person that they've written more books about. Muhammad Ali is number one behind Jesus Christ. And so at that time in 1979, that was a big deal. You know, they were hosting the roast. Everybody was there. All your football players, ball players, stars. I mean, it was the roast of Muhammad Ali. And as a matter of fact, that night after the roast, Garrett Morris, who's the first black guy on Saturday Night Live, came and told me I needed to meet his boss, Lauren Michaels. He took me to NBC, and just to make a long story short, they immediately hired me as an associate writer for Saturday Night Live. So you're looking at the first black girl to get a job as an associate writer for Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
That's right. I had that in my notes because I was going to actually bring that up. And also, you're an author too, correct?
Yeah, I've written 2 books. I decided to do my autobiography, which is entitled Almost There, Almost, The Many Faces of Sylvia Morrison. That's almost there, almost the many faces of Sylvia Morrison. And I decided it was such a job writing that book. I said, I'm not writing any more books. I'm done. I don't want to be known as an author because it took everything out of me.
Yeah.
And then God gave me this other book to write, Jelly Beans from Heaven. And I wrote it in record time. I didn't have to think about it. It just came to me. And that's been a huge deal.
Tell them a little bit about what the jelly beans mean.
Oh,
That's
well,
interesting.
it was, I was on stage one day, really quickly. And this voice, doing a big church. I guess about 900 people. And this voice said, I was telling them about my tour with Whitney Houston. I toured with Whitney Houston. And you're going to like this. Andy was actually supposed to open for Whitney. This is back in the 1980s. Because Andy was opening for everybody. And so they had him opening for Whitney Houston. He thought it was a Saturday night, when in fact it was a Friday night. So since he didn't show up, they called and asked me if I could come down and open for Whitney Houston. But he had just come off tour with Patrice Rushen and
This is Whitney. I could have perhaps met
and
Whitney.
Whitney ended up being, she took me on tour to 23 major United States cities. We had like 37,000 people in some of the arenas. And I forgot where I was.
Just tell them not only who was there, but how excited you were, not only to do the show, but to back up a little bit. She's not telling you all of it. She got the job as the host on the Richard Pryor show. I mean, on Muhammad's roast, because Sylvia was also, her and Bernard Sanders was.
Bernard Sanders is stumbled from good times.
From Good Times was one up for Miss Black in New York.
Oh, okay.
So she was already a beauty queen with reputation as a singer as well as before she even got into stand-up. So she didn't come into the deal as a novice. And the reason why I know that because when I ran into Sylvia, myself, Greg Poole, they had a place called the Last Hurrah. You remember the Last Hurrah? Up on 1950th Street. But it was a real popular all-black club. Everybody was hanging up there. They had the 18th anniversary of the Washington and Times newspaper. And long story short, we were the guest comedians, the entertainment for that night. First time I'd seen Sylvia. So I've always thought that she kind of built us up there into that reputation. But this Sylvia, follow up a little bit about how if Whitney, if Wendy was talking to you about Whitney Houston, how would Wendy Williams go?
Andy, he always pulls out these impressions for me to do. It's so funny. Oh my God! How you doing, Rodney? Happy birthday, okay? Okay. So get this. I personally, every time I try to talk about anything, Kevin comes to mind. He's my ex-husband. He's trying to take all of my money. He's just trying to do all of that. So that's enough of that.
That's one of the things that I find is so. I love when someone can actually bring a personality to someone else right out and do it just instantly, because that's skill.
Well, before the show is over, I have a lady that wants to come out and sing happy birthday to you. We're not going to do that now, though.
Oh, okay. I'm going to love
You don't mind?
Oh, not a problem. That ain't a problem. So what I'm actually going to do, what we do is real talk. People, power, positive people. I'm kind of throwing it around and everything. I'm excited. We don't really follow anything by script. I told you I'd like to do everything just straight from the heart so that you know that we are keeping it real. So I want to kind of go to you a little bit, Andy. And I want you to know personally, again, I've known Andy pretty much all my life. Probably when I first came into contact with you, I probably was about 8 or 9 years old. And Andy can talk, but so can I. But I'm gonna tell you what I know about him. One, I know he's been a mentor and an activist, and I know he has been in the community, well known from dealing with the sheriff department and some other things. I know that anytime that he's done anything, he's been at the forefront to represent us with a strong will and positive attitude. And I want to tell you personally that on many times because of you that I've had the courage to do some of the things I've been able to do. And that's the God's honest truth. Because it wasn't many people that had the nerve to get up in front of crowds and do those things. And that's one thing you have always done. And it's just been, you know, and that's real.
And I appreciate that, and because you said that, I will give you my bank routing number and my account number.
That's the money!
It's not often you hear brothers do that with brothers. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I'm inspired that you even recognize him like that.
No,
That's
but I'm not the only one.
Okay.
There's many, many brothers who you know, we have, and he's not the only one. I mean, your father did something real amazing back when we was going through some racial stuff. If you might.
Well, first of all, let me just say hello and hello to Alexander people in the house, and also my cousin Penny Taylor, who I heard you say happy birthday. My first cousin, that's on Chickie's daughter, and all of my friends, and happy birthday, Chickie.
on Chick.
On Chickie's daughter. That's on Chickie was my mother's sister.
Oh,
So everybody
okay.
had the name. So everybody knew Chickie there in Alexander. But let me just say first off, I thank Rodney for being here, and we family because we all have the same common nephew, in fact, Leslie Shepard, who made with the Redskins.
Right, that's right, that's right.
We are both uncles too, and so that's my sister's son, and certainly our family's been around a long time. Being Alexandrian and having grown up in the city, I think one of the things that I kind of come back or think about Rodney is that the veterans, and Sylvia's always been a big supporter of veterans. I wanted to say to all the veterans and guys out there that we don't forget the veterans. We had a lot of good guys of Alexandria. Rodney was a Marine, served in the service. I got drafted with the Vietnam. I had 9 brothers, and I was the only one that actually went. I think they turned my name in. They said, "Sit Andy, it's okay." But my father was in World War II, and our families has always been involved in the city. Actually, in Alexandria, if you go back, there are 27 original families in Alexandria, and the Evans are one of them. And certainly a lot of people know me as Evans, and I've had people who came up to me and said that I want money. If you couldn't said I made your girlfriend pregnant, that was my brother. That was not me. I did not do that.
It wasn't you.
It was one of them other Evans boys. I don't know which one it was. I told the girl, I said, I was in Vietnam. She said, I know that. I've been up there by Detroit. I said, no, see, it's not. But I think a lot of what my experience has been, and is I would say I've always been a community activist.
Yes.
But I was more of a reputation of a community organizer. And by that I mean that my experience coming out of Vietnam had me really realizing when they wouldn't bury black soldiers out of the National Cemetery. I think that made me have to choose, was I going to become very militant or was I going to get engaged? And it was a gentleman, Al Robinson, who came, of course, he was the first black city councilman. I ended up being his campaign manager, and he won as independent. And from there, I think my journey began. Went on to Federal City. This here for the Firebirds, Sylvia Federal City in the halls. And through that experience of going to Federal City and coming out, I ended up getting involved. And certainly I did run for sheriff in Alexandria, but a lot of people asked me why I did. And it was the basic answer, and the truth of it was that I heard that 1 out of 5 black men went to jail in this country. So I figured at that rate I may as well run for sheriff, so then I have a key. So I need to be walk out of the jail. But as Rodney knows, the jail was located in the black community.
Yeah.
Across from the bird, right?
Yeah.
And we could walk by there and you heard somebody hollering out the window, "Hey, Andy, tell Tina baby bring my tennis shoes back." That's how close the jail was.
Yeah.
But it was inhumane, the way they treated brothers. The conditions of the jail wasn't really great. So in my wildest time, getting up in front of a bunch of brothers saying, somebody need to run for sheriff and take their job over. They said, Andy, and like an idiot, I did it. But I was going to go to law school. I figured they had a police department, and anybody that broke out of jail, I was going to dial 911. And plus, I had a plan right now. I was going to save the city money. Because my plan when I was running for it was that on the weekends, since I knew all them in jail and most of them were cousins, I was gonna let them go home on the weekend and pick them up on Monday. See, all the money we'll save from room and board
Right.
will go back into the city coffers.
Right.
Wait, wait. How old were you when you ran for sheriff? Oh my
I was
God.
26.
What?
26.
Here's the deal, right? I know Andy as a comedian because that's
Right.
my line of work. When I met Andy in the early '80s, as a black woman, I couldn't get on stage. People just it was white man's genre, whatever.
Right.
And Andy, thanks to him, I'm listening to all these people. Every time I go somewhere with him, they talk about what he did, how they helped him, how he helped them,
Yeah.
and what he did. He recommended to me, he said, you go up to the Ibex and tell Ron Green, he told me this, he said, and tell Ron Green that I sent you. And I didn't know that his name was that powerful.
Yes.
In the comedy world, now I'm sitting here listening to him talk about being an activist. I'm like, wait, whoa, who is this?
Activist, isn't it?
An activist, you?
Yeah, but Sylvia and I really got a lot in common. I think that whole grind that you do when you come through the 60s, 70s, 80s, for me it was just the experience of finding something that you had a passion for. And we both had that passion for comedy. And I think that's what makes it work. One of my biggest prizes, and I'll tell you a couple things. One, to all my George Mason University students who graduated, I got a beautiful picture. I'm going to send it to Alma Martin, who I see up on Alma Gill Martin. Her sister went to George Mason. She was one of the first black students at George Mason. I got a beautiful picture of Alexandria had the largest class of students that attended a predominantly white school from T.C. Williams. So that was Marion Conti, Carl Jackson, Alma Martin's sister. And do you remember Alma's sister?
I'm not sure.
Alma and all the students that came there was a group of about 12 or 15. A lot of them graduated from Mason. It was a beautiful experience to bring them to George Mason, but I was there as their counselor. So they had the academic skills to get through. They had the support. And so their parents were saying to me, Andy, if you take my child out to that school, you better be responsible to make sure they get back. So I stayed up at George Mason for 11 years as a counselor. And that allowed me to have a different sense of working in the community as a community organizer. My other love was the Alexandria Olympic Boys Club.
Yeah.
And we all grew up, and you're right, come on, how many times you been in there?
I can't even enough to age, but
That was outside with Jack Refuge.
That was out.
Kept us out of the street, right?
Yes.
The kind of places we had that kept us from the trouble that young folks have now, they didn't have places to go. We had that was in the rec center.
Yeah.
We had the boys club. Now I stayed there for 15 years teaching martial arts and taught karate and stuff free. Never taught it down. Myself and a guy named Oliver Coleman, who passed, by the way, gave a shout out to him. He was a beautiful teacher. But I studied martial arts and I wanted to teach kids how to get past the physical to start using it for the mental state of mind. But anyway, long story short, it's those kind of historical places that help those in the black community. Now, I just want to say just one last thing. The Evans have been a long line of folks, just like the Shepherds and the families been in Alexandria for years. But it goes back to my Uncle Buddy, my father's brother, who was the first black to help integrate the libraries.
Right.
My Aunt Dorothy Peaches, who was a very instrumental in housing. My brother Wendell was for the first ones at the Urban League. My brother Bernard, who was not only in the early years when rap with H. Rap Brown, all those guys, they was coming to Alexandria to talk with him. So when I got out of Vietnam, I was a little confused as to what to do. But what I did recognize is that in my family, we were always out there being active. So do you stay angry or do you go out there and challenge? So what we got going on today, all I'm saying to folks, I ain't gonna take no sides, but don't forget to vote.
That's it.
Well, wait a minute, y'all. You both are from Alexandria. You know, Andy, I told Andy, I'm from D.C. I didn't even know you guys were over there in Alexandria. I had no clue. What was the racial climate like then, back when right before you went into the Marines? What was...
What you mean the between the white and black?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's always been a situation of tension there, but it's been a situation of a tension that was controllable.
Okay.
So we had certain areas that we didn't want to go to or we couldn't go to comfortably, but at the same time, we handled our business. What now, and so you saying that it was people like Andy and the Evans brothers, because he has quite a few brothers, and then other black males that we had in the community that weren't to be messed with. Okay. And everybody was family. So it wasn't.
That's exactly what it said.
Everybody was family. You could go anywhere and get reprimanded by an older gentleman like Andy could reprimand me easily with respect that I would give him, especially if I was in the wrong, and know that it may be another reprimandation coming right after him.
I got you.
So we had many people like himself that in that community, no matter what they were doing, whether they was robbing or stealing or whatever, they handled their business, but they also took care of you. Okay. So we had that relationship.
You remember when Skeets tried to knock the statue down that just took out? By the way, they took the statue down just in the middle of the street. Something general. And I remember Skeets tried to knock it down with a bicycle. Remember Skeets?
The people that we had coming up, it was just
characters.
It was characters.
Yes, sir.
I always, one of the things that I wanted to do, and I hope when I say this that Andy don't beat me to it, I wanted to write a book about Queen Street.
Wow. That was beautiful.
You know, now you would not believe if you watched the movie Hollow Knight and all that, it had nothing on Queen Street in Old Town Alexandria. I'm trying to tell you, anything and everything. And the police back then, when you was talking about racial tension, one white cop is not coming up Queen Street by itself. It wasn't happening back in the 60s and 70s. That was not happening. You might even get, if they came, it had to be 4 or 5 of them, and they had other black police officers with them. So in certain areas, we were very safe because of our elders. Our elders, our parents did not play.
Now that's where it was, the parent.
Yeah.
Because everybody could tell on your father or your mother about your bad attitude or good attitude.
Oh my goodness.
I know my father, and God knows I love him to death. He was probably he was one of those gifted athletes that a lot of my sisters, brothers. I mean, my sister Carolyn was a standing track runner. My sister Wanda went on to the Olympics. She was running on the Olympic teams back out of high school. But it all because my father was one of these people that always thought hard work, get up every morning, nobody laying in his bed after 7, and you got to do something. Yeah. So then you go out there and play sports or get a job. But that whole idea that to have a large family and everybody contributes, keep the house clean, everybody kept everything. You know yourself, people don't realize you went into public housing in Alexandria. And in most places that public, they was some of the neatest, cleanest places.
Right.
But people thought them in public housing
right.
and dirty. They were just out. So people kept their places immaculate.
Yes.
But that was family pride and part of culture.
Yes.
I always been marveled at how we have similarities. Sylvia's family, very similar to mine when we started sharing stories about her sisters and brothers. Very much the same where her mother and father was very strict.
What I'm finding, Alexandria is like America's best kept secret.
Yes,
it's like America's best kept secret.
You know,
God.
When we talk about the families, that's what I was saying. I was trying to tell people when I was in the Marine Corps, I had a demeanor about me that I never needed a whole bunch of people to solidify who I was. Okay. That's because of the gentleman that I followed, his father, my grandfather.
How did you do the Marine Corps as opposed to any of the other military? I mean, what made you go to the Marines?
Because that was the only one that let me sign up the next day. It was either jail or the Marine Corps. And I wasn't going no jail. So I ran down to Washington Street. I was 17 years old and told the man, say, look, he said, when you want to leave? I said, tomorrow. And I was not playing because when you talk about not having certain things, so we had the boys club and the recreation centers, right. And those was what groomed us. And these individuals who were overseeing those facilities were our fathers. Okay.
I got it.
Not all the time by blood, but they were our fathers. They were men and real men. You know, that they had a certain aura about them that when you walked around them, you knew you better tighten up. No profanity, no disrespect. If Mr. Russ out of the boys club called one of us and he says, yes sir, and he say, yo, what are you doing? You don't backmouth, you know, you don't give him, I mean, that was, and when he mentioned his aunt, Miss Turner,
Yeah.
she didn't play.
She was
She-
a powerful woman.
She was everybody's mother, aunt, godmother, and when it came down to it, when Miss Turner walked and she came, you had a sense of almost like a female mayor had just stepped into your presence because everybody knew her and she was not the type of woman that allowed people to run over her.
So you said earlier, and I'm sorry, I
No,
want
no,
to
go
go
ahead,
back
go
to
ahead.
this. I want to just go back to it. You said earlier that you could be reprimanded. You being the younger to Andy and other parents, whatever. Does that mean that, like Miss Turner, was she one of those women that the men, the guys, had respect for, and she could also reprimand you?
Without a doubt. And first of all, let me tell you something. That coming up, if I did, she might whoop me.
That was going to be my next question, but you.
Back then, it wasn't no problem about getting a whooping from you from the neighbor down the street, across the street that know your mother and father. Because she could call on the phone and call my mother, and by the time I got there, my mother would be ready to whoop me again because she know that Miss Turner is not going to call her and tell her anything that's not. You know, we just.
Did that ever happen to you though?
Oh, come on. Shoot.
See, Rodney and all of us kind of came under the umbrella of the community. So
Yeah.
the churches was the base. Everybody could ask you. Even if you ask you, say, what church you belong to? So all of us who kind of came up, I was saying all the churches was really where everybody had to come, slow down on Sunday,
Yeah.
and try to find your sense of spirituality and recognize that as a God force.
Yes.
And whatever your religion is, everybody respect it.
Yes.
And I look back on so much of, even for myself as a growing up in the church and thinking that what's right and wrong, I think it had a lot to do with why I actually ran for sheriff. I ran for sheriff in Alexandria, but I was the only, actually one of my good friends, Rachel Pope, and Rachel Pope was out there. Hey Rachel, how you doing? Her cousin George Pope was out there. And he ran for sheriff also in the city. But it was those kind of challenges that made you say that if the institution not treating black people correct, then maybe we need to take over the institution. Not by force, but by elections, by process. And once we start engaging young folks, if you're not like what's going on, like for example with the whole killing and everybody's so pumped up right now, it went beyond black, white. It's going into how human beings treat, how police enforce. When you see people in New Zealand, when you see people in Switzerland, anytime there's 10,000 people from New Zealand, there's only 6 Negroes in the whole country. That tells you something.
That tells you something.
We talking about white countries that will stand up for black people.
Yes.
But they stand up for all people. And I think maybe and like Sylvia always says, it's not never going to go back to where it was.
Right.
And I think that changes our power. And as entertainers, and I'll just say this, it allows us to, when we do our shows, and one of the things I wanted to talk about right now, we'll get into it, I'm not going to change up, but we'll get into is that whole idea of history. Yeah. I wrote a play, and I wrote several plays in plays, and I've been able to be blessed with the ability to be an old griot. That's what kept our history alive, was those storytellers back in the day.
Yes.
But we got to put it on paper. But Sylvia represented black female comics, which was few out there. It's more of a well-dominated art. Looking at Mom's Maiden, the history of this lady has a lot to do with me wanting to write a play. So I wrote a play called The Return of Jackie Mom's Maiden, which Sylvia will be starring in as Mom's Maiden. This lady who was born in 1894 was on stage in 1975 making $10,000 a night at the Apollo. Now you got to go back from 1894 to 1975. Not only was she a comedian, She was invited to the White House by two presidents.
Sitting presidents.
Two sitting presidents. Lyndon B. Johnson. She was part of the Harlem Renaissance. Everybody from Langston Hughes to Zora Neale Hurston, when moms came to town, everybody in Harlem or what city she was in went because they wanted to hear what moms got to say. Now here's the hook that makes it interesting. This is why I went to Sylvia to play the part. Moms had a real message in the thing. One of her messages she would say to the audience is, Mom's gonna tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Who tell you the truth better than your mom?
Nobody.
If your mom's talking to you, you're gonna listen. Even if you don't wanna, you're gonna listen.
Right.
Yes.
So when she went on that stage and did a joke, she knew how to talk about it in a way that the anger didn't come out. For example, we get angry about whites and blacks and that color's name. Moms would tell a joke about how, say, discrimination is there, and how we had to deal with what black comedians during those days did jokes that talked about our problems as well. It was, let's say you got young comics, and I'm gonna knock all of the little guy in the Def Jam, but there's what you call socially conscious comedians, like Bill Cosby, like George Carlin, like Lenny Bruce. Those who talk about something with a deeper meaning. First time I saw a comedian that impressed me, that made me want to be a comic, was a guy named J.D. Atkins, and he walks out on Ed Sullivan, an old white show, first time I saw black. And he comes out and he says, you know, they got heart transplants nowadays. I don't know if I really would want a heart transplant, but if I had to have one, I think I have the heart of a bigot, because they ain't never been used.
Wow. Oh my God.
Oh, is that heavy? And then Congressman, I knew that the other guy used to come on the stage, he would go like, you know, they just found a black man in a rubber dam in Mississippi. He had 57 stab wounds in his back. Sheriff wrote in the paper the next day, it was the worst case of suicide he ever seen. That's the common kind. Black man got hit down there on the highway, knocked him up in a tree. They gave that brother a ticket for leaving the scene of accident. Now, how heavy was comedy? So comedy has always been part of the black experience, like gospel, like singing, like dancing.
Yes.
And I'm getting back to Sylvia. One of the things that I found out about moms, I went to Brevard, North Carolina. She was born in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Father was the most successful black man in the town. He was the undertaker, the barber, the city councilman, the fireman. He died at an early age. Her two grandmothers decided that mom's, her name was Loretta Aikens, she needed to put a talent on the road. She survived 2 rapes. At 15, left, got on the road, joined the TOBA, which is similar to a Motown of this era in the 20s, was a dancer singer. By the 50s, she wanted to move into a solo performer as a dancer singer, but they started pushing out in front of the stage to do stand-up. Now, here's we getting into Sylvia's stand-up. Stand-up is improvisation. If we go back before the early on comedians like Picnic Markham, those guys did comedy on the stage, but they didn't talk to the audience. You just watch and you laugh. Stand-up is when you make the audience part of the show.
Right.
And they engage, they laugh, you put out the energy. Moms was the first to do it. Now, I got that from people who told me that was the first great thing. So I'm going back to the early on guy. He was one of my mentors. I looked at that. Now we get into the play, The Return of Jack and Mom's Baby. If you get a chance to show that flyer that I showed you of Sylvia being moms and what I sent you to, or a picture of her and moms. The amazing thing is, moms was a singer and a dancer. In The Return of Jack and Mom's Baby, Sylvia is going to not only morph that she does, I believe, but morph into the characters that she do impressions of, but she'll be singing. The play is between the early 1950 to 1975. That's the setting. Moms is up above the Apollo. She wants to go from being a chorus line dancer and a singer to a solo performer, so that she could make more money to move her family to Washington, D.C. So she starts thinking about who she could sing on Monday nights at the Apollo.
You know, and not to cut you off, but for her to decide to want to be, I mean, she was a chorus line singer.
Exactly.
That just blows my mind that Mom's Maid was singing and dancing as opposed she wasn't even doing comedy. Right? She wasn't even
doing comedy. So here's the thing. she started auditioning, like America Got Talent. You go out there and sing Whitney Houston and whatever, the young folks.
Right.
She was singing the Great Women of Her era. So she went out there and she started thinking about who she could sing like. So the play goes from moms in front to Sylvia in the background as Loretta Akins, who was her mom's name. So where all of a sudden she's thinking about who she wants to sing like. And she starts singing, and she sings about a half dozen different women. Sarah Vaughan, Dionne Warwick, Nancy Wilson, Donna Ross, Tina Turner. And just for my little kick, I had to get a little bit in there. She does one of my favorites. When the first person she do, because I love her scat. Sylvia, give me a little bit of Ella.
See, I was going to sing that for Rodney's birthday.
Okay,
I was going to sing, sing his
Okay.
birthday song. Rodney just
Go ahead and do it, Dave,
birthday,
if you want to
I
do
got
it.
to wait. Or
You want to do it now? I don't care. I just want,
No,
okay, hold that one, hold that one.
Hold it.
So she goes out of that one and just give you a little bit of this, which is one of my favorite. More for a minute into me for give me that time. Go ahead and do a little bit of the voice on Sarah Vaughan singing this.
Look at me, I'm as blessed as a kitten, up a tree, never knowing my left foot from my right, right from my feet. I get misty whenever you're near.
Oh my God. Hey, when I tell you, yo, this is Real Talk Live.
Yes.
All that just joined in, I want you to know that I have the amazing Miss Sylvia. I Trey Morrison. I just be really getting excited when I see people with this type of talent. Also, we have Andy Evans, which everybody knows, an amazing individual. It's real talk, but I told you it's real. Everything we do is real. We don't fabricate anything.
Hi, Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Yeah, I want to take this time before we get back because we got some people that's sending out some comments. I wanted to just say the shout outs to what's his Alma Gill, Margaret Barr, Monia, Nonia. Oh, that's 90. Yeah, it's the writing. Karen Johnson King, Kimberly Wilson, Gene McBride. What's up, brother Gene? Angela Bruford, Jerry Blake, Essence Moore, Daniel Bradley. This is what's that? Gene Lowe, Big Lump.
Wow.
D'Angelo.
Oh, D'Angelo, Big Lump.
It's Benny's son.
Oh, D'Angelo, family member. We got what's this? Maria Price, Gwen, Gavin, Gail Woodley, Van Jared, Tracy Johnson, Murray Gwen, Roberts, Kelly Campbell, Ashley Brown, Unique, what's this? Eunice Rogers, Paul Taylor, Rev Gotti, my brother, Shannon Jackson, Josephine Harris, Lil Mama, Helen, Anthony Ross, Mark Durrick, John Taylor, Vanessa Gumra. I know I'm messing y'all names up. And then there's Shirley Brooks, Angela Gomez, and I'm gonna stop right there. And I want to go back, and we got some Evans on here for real. Marie Price, I see you on there, sweetheart. I love you for your dedication and support. I want to go back to one of the questions that I saw in there. It says, go back some more. What age did, okay, hold on, let's go with that. From Rachel, what age did you start comedy, and what did your parents say about you doing comedy? So, I want both of y'all to answer that. So let's.
Well, first off, I think it was in all of our families because everybody had a funny uncle or a funny cousin.
Yeah.
You had the uncle to tell you a joke. Come on, you got to tell you a joke. You can't let the girls hear this. And sometimes I had people tell you jokes, and they would laugh before the punchline got there. You never knew what this was. And then he said,
That's hilarious.
so you never really learned it, but you knew it was something.
But you know it, right.
So next time you stood a little further away
Right,
from
right,
the
right,
joke.
right.
joke. But I think that's part of the black experience.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it always has been something that sparked when I saw how powerful that was. And I think I learned it at St. Joseph. I was taught by those nuns at St. Joseph, which is the first black Catholic school in Alexandria. Beautiful women who just had a funny sense of humor. I mean, even though they were nuns, they had a funny. So I think my experience came from that. And then, of course, like you said, in my family, there were people who were just funny. I just think I was the guy that took it a little bit further and it stayed with me. And then I think for myself, the opportunity to go on stage, either you love it because you're going to get a lot of rejection from the start. But if you learn that setbacks are set for you to be really better the next time you come out. Some people look at it as failure. I look at it as that if you did something, you got on the stage, so pick up from that stuff. But I'll just say this, and Sylvia can tell you her part. I recognize the difference between being a professional comedian and just doing jokes like your own. Now, I've been blessed enough to be a book traveler for Rita Franklin before I was a last comedian with her before she passed. Chosen by her.
Right.
The Earth, Wind and Fire did their 50th anniversary book travel. I was there with them. I've been on stage with Gina Bell and Davis. But when you're playing the big stages, came on with George Wallace doing the concert in Norfolk. But when you're playing the big stage and you've been there, here's the key to all, and I'll say for me, Sylvia can tell you hers. Your jokes sometimes may not work, but you're always an entertainer.
Right.
So that's
right.
what motivates and keep going. So I like the challenge and the fun of it. And Sylvia, coming out of Washington, she had all the eligible experience. She was already good looking, cute, so she had an edge.
That's funny.
So and for you, so that question was also for you as well. So when did you get to?
I think I started comedy. I couldn't have been more than about 5 or 6 years old because I could hear things. I could hear bumblebees. I knew when a bumblebee was nearby. Not only did I know it, I could also make the same sounds as they could make. I would tell people they're bumblebees coming. The bees, they didn't have to be bumblebees. I just knew it.
Yeah.
And I could just make the same sound. And then I realized I could detect when a butterfly was near. I could actually hear the flapping of a butterfly's wings. And I would start imitating the sounds of bugs and lights and the street lights when they make that sound when they come on. I could do that. And I remember one night I heard crickets outside. So I went in the house and my parents were in the house. I say parents now, back in the day I used to say my mother and father.
I would have keep talking with this shit, tell you the truth. She knows sound so well that I went to give her some money and I thought it was 5. She knew it was a 5 out of 10 just from the sound. I touched the money. She said, no, that's not
That's a joke. That's a joke.
That's a bad one. The sound of the money. Put that back. Don't bring it out. Put that back in the wallet. Go dig that other one out.
But let me add into that now. That's one of the things that people. So I do a lot of mentoring. I've done quite a few things, helping some young artists to move forward. And I always said, stars are not made. They are born.
Well, come on.
They're not made. They are born. And not everybody can do those things or know how to receive it and then nourish it to be able to expose it to others. And so, or many times people would always say, even to me, who do you think you are? Because I want to do shows, I want to do real talk with Rodney Grimes, because I don't mind putting on a wig and acting out that I'm someone else. Who do you think you are? No, it's not who do I think I am. I know who I am. It's who you think I am. See, the thing is at this point, I know this is naturally who I am. And so when I was speaking about Andy coming up and some of the other people that we followed, those who had that in them, that was not afraid to show who they really are, ended up being people who could go on stage. A lot of people can't do that because they can't really let go who they are.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Right?
Oh, that's deep. I just heard that.
Yeah.
I just heard. I understand what you meant when you said that. And as a matter of fact, I had no clue for years that he was a writer. Andy, in my opinion, my personal opinion, I believe is a better writer than anything that he's done, other than going to Vietnam. And I gotta give you props for that. I mean, you and
Actually, I really didn't mean to go to Vietnam. I got drafted, but I tried to join. I said, if you join something else, they don't send you. So I went to join the Salvation Army. Got me a bell.
As I was saying,
they
it's
said,
just
"No,
off
bro,
the
you gotta
chain.
go."
Just
But-
off the chain. But no, wait a minute. I did not know that you were the writer that you're until I found out you had won that award for Clinton Comes to Harlem. I don't know if you guys even know about this.
I mean, some of it, but go on
Okay.
because
Well, and you tell us about your Clinton Comes, because
No,
nobody
I
knows.
wrote a play. It's called Clinton Comes to Harlem, and I won the National DC Commission of Arts. I won the thing. The play won the award for adult play. Won at the Shakespeare Theater. They gave it to me there, and it was one of those times.
It was the top award. He's being humble and sweet and kind and all of that.
Well, the whole thing is with the play, it allowed me to get the play seen by people like Arena Stage, National Theater. Those people came, those were the judges.
Right.
So I knew I had something there. I had wrote a movie for Wanda Sykes, Delightful Moms, back several years ago. And so I had already had the opportunity to write. But here's the thing about the writing part. If you can write a script, and if you can find, and this is why it's hard for people to look for, who's the person you're going to get to do the part? I think Sylvia, and one thing I wanted Sylvia to talk about a little bit is that her relationship to moms, when we used to talk, I was amazed. Sylvia actually lived across the street from this woman. She's one of the second female comedians probably in the country. The fact that she lived in D.C., moms moved in the 50s. In my book, I contend that D.C. is the Mecca for stand-up.
Right.
Even if you think it's somewhere else, every act in the country got to come here.
that's right.
Because Washington, and let me tell you one other thing. Howard Theater, when it opened, Berry Gordy came to Washington, they gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award. Sophie Robinson gave it to him. I was there with Bill Cosby. A lot of folks were there. When he got on the stage, he said, the first place I sent all my acts from Motown is Washington, D.C. And he said, the reason why is because Washington, D.C. has the most sophisticated audiences in the country because they've seen everybody.
Yes.
So if you come here, you can't fake it.
Right.
Sylvia was one of these people that followed in mom's footsteps. But talk a little bit, Sylvia, about your relationship to moms and how you as a black woman pulling this part on. Because what is this, the play you're doing, Return of Jack and Mom's Baby. And trust me, folks, look for it either on pay-per-view, Hulu, Netflix or something, but it's coming up before the summer. Probably more than likely. We're going to shoot it sometime in the next month or so. And it also will be a live play that will be going around the country. Sylvia will be in D.C. Alexander probably in the place. But if we're going to go to, we already was in negotiation with the Howard Theater before the coronavirus thing came up. And we were going to go there and get the power. But it's a story about a great woman who has a legacy. Sylvia portrays that, but I think Sylvia follows in her footsteps. But I just want Sylvia to talk a little bit about herself and how she was influenced by it. And she has to
Oh my God, I've always loved moms. As a matter of fact, I just celebrated 50 years in comedy. I celebrated my 50th year. A lot of people don't know that because I've always been underground parallel to people like Joan Rivers and Dolly, what's her name? I'm sorry. Not Dolly Parton. The girl that's what's her name? You know, the white girl. She always, anyway, I just finished celebrating 50 years in the business. And a lot of my friends came to D.C. To help me. So Monique was one. She showed up and showed out, and we had an absolute ball. And what people didn't realize, the first house I purchased in Washington, D.C. was at First and R Street in Northwest. And there was a big house that sat on the corner, cat corner from where I lived. And when I first moved in, and I was just walking around looking at the neighborhood or whatever, it was before it became gentrified. this big, beautiful home. People say, that's Mom's Whately's house. And I said, wow, that's interesting. Because to begin with, Rodney, I can't imagine what moms had to go through as a black woman in the early 1900s, and the 1930s and 40s and 50s. Because I know what I went through as a black female comedian impressionist. I mean, there were times when I was living in New York City, I actually got flown out to LA by Red Fox because he heard about our performances. There was 4 of us over there. And he said, I want to meet the girl that does impressions because I've never seen a black woman do that. I want to meet her. So when I got back to the States, he flew me out to LA. And they didn't even give me so much as a chance to check into my hotel because they wanted to see if everything they read about, because we didn't have internet,
Right.
we didn't have telephones, we didn't have none of that. Everything was by magazine, television, radio, or word of mouth for the most part. And they set me down. I had 8 people sitting in front of me. They said, let's see what you do. And I'm like, let's see what you do. Dewey Hughes, remember I told you, Dewey Hughes had told me, Sylvia, when you get out there, don't you be shy. You better give it whatever they ask you for in a performance. Do it, just do it, because you got so many people coming up behind you that would love to share those footsteps. And in front of those 8 people, without applause, that I'm used to, I'm used to 3,000 people in New York.
Right.
And I had to perform in front of them, and they had a contract ready for me to sign with Red Fox. I signed my first management contract, no lawyer, no nothing. I was like 20, 21 years old, whatever. And I'm in LA. I didn't care. I was like, I was about to work with Red Fox. God dog it, this is it. So I signed a contract. And so when I started not being able to perform because I was simply, seriously, because I was a black female, they didn't want to put me on stage. So I had to make stages. I had to do cabarets, birthday parties. I'd go up on the Atlantic City boardwalk and stand out there with a box on the ground and do. This is back in the late 60s, early 70s, or whatever. And I found out about the Miss Black America page. And so I'm telling you all that to try to lead up to the fact when I learned about moms. I already knew who she was. She's the real queen of comedy, in my opinion.
No.
She's the real queen of
Yes.
comedy. So when Andy wrote this play, and he just casually mentioned it, and I'd already learned that his writing skills were stellar. And I read the script. I was like, wow. I said, Andy, I can do that. So he said, the part is yours. You got it. And I was like overwhelmed because Moms and I lived across the street from each other. Our houses, rather, were across the street from each other. And the fact that what I was reading in his writings spoke to me because she was a dancer and a singer. I danced as a singer, not like in the capacity that she was as a chorus line. That's why I'm still shocked. She was a chorus line performer.
That alone, just for the fact that you had the opportunity to see her personally, to see her in real life.
Now I never saw her at our houses because I didn't buy my house until '82, and she died in 1975.
Oh, okay.
So it
I
was.
saw her. Oh yeah, I saw her. That's why I knew she could do it.
And she was gorgeous in her day. She was.
I saw it. But real quick, hold on. Hey, we have a caller, Miss Rachel Pope. How you doing, Rachel?
Rachel!
Hello, my favorite comedian.
Oh, hi, Rachel Pope. How you doing? And Rachel Pope not only is a friend, but her and Zena, when I did my one-man show, they had total control of the theater. They told people what to say. They made the mayor get up and go back in the back row because they was not supposed to be in the front row. The Rachel and Zena didn't take no mess. You don't walk, and if you didn't have a ticket, you had to go get back in line. They did not let nothing come back. I said,
Well, they need to be at the return of
hey,
Mom's
they know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Everything is family. Everything is family. Go ahead, Rich. Rachel's an artist. Rachel is an artist, and I want to say, Rachel, let me just say that you are one of the true people that I've, over the years, have been consistently believing the art of breathing. She's dealt with her own conditions, a woman who kind of shares her art. Not only does she share it, but she worked with Howard University Hospital. She's been recognized now, and when we did look at what we call holistic approach to healing, they now not only incorporate you go get cholesterol checks and you get your blood pressure, they will also send you over to Rachel to help you bring your blood pressure down, teach you how to breathe. So she has been a component over 20-some years, and everybody knows her as Queen Rachel. So we all can take a deep breath for Rachel. Everybody take a deep breath.
Everybody take a deep breath for Rachel. And matter of fact, I had the opportunity, hey Rachel.
Oh, yeah.
Now, see, for Andy to say this, just confirmation when I shared some information about you as well when I first met you myself. And you did the whole, what was it called?
I call it a creative relaxation session.
Yes. And I just met this woman,
Okay.
right? I ended up dating her best friend. And I did not want to leave her house. So I didn't know how to call Zena, because I wanted to call Zena and tell her, say, look, I don't know what you done, but you done put me in this lady's house and I don't want to leave.
So sweet.
She
So sweet.
she literally relaxed me to a point that my spirit had got to a point of total just relaxation.
Wow.
And when I left out of there, it was like I was floating. I never will forget that.
Wow.
And I've always knew people had certain skills and powers. So when you was talking about you can hear the butterfly, I don't take that lightly. See, some people are saying, oh, she crazy. Well, let me tell you something. I don't think you're crazy.
I know.
And when I talk to Rachel,
Thank you.
I know that she's not, you know, Rachel talks about it. She shares with so many people. Hey, Rachel,
Yes.
I got to tell this story too. I'm sorry. No, and let me share this because what I want people to know, the people that I deal with, this is real talk. None of this is fabricated. We talking real talk. Yeah, we got comedians in here right now, but I'm telling you, some of the information we give you is going to help you enlighten your life. It's going to change your way of going about things. Rachel, one time I went to the doctor and I had a real bad pain in my shoulder. Couldn't get rid of it.
Wow.
Right? And it was extremely bad. And I don't really like putting drugs in my body, especially when somebody tell me, oh, try this. So Zena called Rachel, and Rachel came over, and she asked me what was going on, and she started to use her hands, and she literally went to where the pain was, right? Just feeling through her hands, and then I always do wear hats or whatever, and she said, take your hat off and everything, and this woman pulled the pain from out of my shoulder through the top of my head.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you, that's the God's honest truth. Some people probably think, man, you crazy. This woman pulled the pain from out of my shoulder, out of the top. My head started getting real, real hot. And I was like, oh, what is she doing? Now I'm thinking, this woman here is something, this little one to her. But Rachel, again, you know, I had to just say that because Andy just confirmed. And when people, when you know, if they say, one person say, yo, the dude over there drunk, right? And then you go around the corner and another person say, did you see my man across the street here drunk? And then you go down another block and they say, you know that drunk live around, it's a drunk over there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right, uh-huh.
So we just confirmed that you are a healer. How about that, Rachel?
Yeah. It's supposed to be about Andy and Sylvia.
I know, but Andy did that. You know, Andy always do that. Andy give
Yes, he
everybody
does.
his credit.
Yes, he
See,
does.
that's another reason why Andy is well known.
I got a question for both of them.
Okay.
But one thing is potential. Andy had a show called Soul Comedy. And I want to know, is he planning on opening that back up again?
So, you know, Richard, that's a good question. I was just talking to Sylvia about that whole thing. By the way, the Solar Comedy was the first all-black comedy showcase before Russell Summers and then did Def Jam. And we know that, the cool with everybody. I did a show in 87, and I shot 27 black comedians. Martin Lawrence, Tommy Davis, Chris Thomas, Fat Guy. Everybody was on the show. There was a comedian at the time. And they were so shocked about the quality of stand-up comedy. But I knew DC Comics was strong because I was in the top of the line with stand-ups. And when I went to New York, black comics couldn't get on the stage. We'd be there 2 o'clock in the morning and they'd just go past us. So I decided, since we don't have a stage, I was going to create. Long story short, I did the show at Channel 32 called The Soul of Comedy. Then I opened a comedy club called The Soul of Comedy at the Howard Inn, which used to be the old Harambe House. Right there now is a bookstore. And Rachel did the poster for The Soul of Comedy for us. One of the things that happened was Martin Lawrence, and I'll say this to you. By the way, Martin Lawrence, and you should be looking at PTP with Rodney.
That's
By
right.
the way, if you give me a hit up, I want to see, I may even get Martin, let me put it this way, before Martin was the host of Def Jam, he was on Soul of Comedy. That was his first TV show. I've sent him the tape. I was on the biograph when they did his history. We're still good friends. He asked me to send a tape of him actually performing. I always thought that it'd be great to bring the Soul of Comedy back. And perhaps if I can get Martin, I know Tommy Davis would do it. David Chappelle, who also is a good friend and certainly would be one of the people. But we would like to bring the Soul of Comedy back because it's a DC original. And it's a kind of show that showcases the best talent. So just maybe, Rachel, if I get through to Martin and we get a chance to talk a little bit. Martin got bank. So since Martin got the kind of cash that can pull it off, I think he would be interested because that's his first show. That was his home-based show.
Yeah.
So a lot of all that history is going full circle and coming back around.
That's right.
I think I've always been a kind of a historian in nature. But again, that goes right back to why I wanted Sylvia to do this play because
Right.
I thought Mom's story was too important to let anybody do it. You need a professional. You need somebody who's already have the level of confidence that she has. So it's like a script to meet her talent. That's where the thing makes a difference. And if I wasn't able to do that, then I was going to sit on it for a while. But I think when we tell the story, what will happen is we will begin to appreciate not only what Sylvia brought to the table, but you're going to see the range of this lady's talent and how so many of us get overlooked over a period of time. But we know we got to write our own history. Black history is supposed to be 365 days. I don't know why they don't give us 1 month.
So with that said, and we want to make this understood that we are supporters of each other. We're changing the way we're doing things. So once this play is now in process, we have to make sure that it's a success. We have to come out and we have to make sure that when Sylvia is performing, that is a sellout. That's up to us.
Thank you.
See, you do your part. Your part is you show us your skills and give your talent.
Okay.
Andy do his part. He brings the things all together and make them work. But, you know, you can have chiefs, but you got to have Indians.
Absolutely.
And so what we have to do collectively, we have to come out when these things happen. And I want to say this. A lot of people talk about what I was doing, okay? And a lot of people told me, said, Rodney, don't worry about what they think or whatever. But then I had this young lady on here named Brandy Wallace. Very, very powerful young female, black female. And she said, I realize I need people.
Yep.
That's powerful.
At first, I used to like, yo, if they don't want a part of it, the heck with them. I'd be like, yo, I don't care. But when she made that statement, it resonated within me. So my point that I'm saying to all the listeners, I keep telling you, when you get on It's Real Talk with Rodney Grimes, come on now, hit share. When we know that Andy, and he's writing and doing these, giving opportunity, because when one door open for one person, it really open for all of us.
Yeah.
And so when we make sure that it's a sellout, all we did is confirm that we're now establishing ourselves right here in the DMV.
Right.
And so it's no reason, and I'm saying that to everyone, when this manifests to a point where we're able to get back and we can show support by purchasing tickets, we have to make sure that we are there to support you 100%.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that, Rodney. And I don't know in terms of pay, but do you take food stamps?
I do.
Because you don't like to have people
Hey, let me
do
tell you
that kind
that.
of promo.
Hey,
with
hey,
us.
baby, let me tell you something, bro. In this day and time, I take pennies, food stamps, and I take IOUs.
Dude.
But as I always, you know, it's real talk with Rodney Grimes. And my wife always says, she said, it's real talk live with Rodney Grimes. She corrected me today, so I don't have to get in the habit of saying that. People to people, power to power, power to thinking people. Well, who the people? Me, you, and them, right? We have some people here, you people over there. We connect. What happens? We start to get that power.
Yes.
We're talking power. The power where we bring to each other, uplifting each other. That's what we do. And when you start to bring that positive energy and that positive power in, what does that cause? That causes you to become a positive thinking person. So you become positive thinking people. So that's PTP. I tell you that because God put it in my spirit to say, yo, Rodney, we got to be able to do these things so we create the platforms for us to survive. We can't wait on white America, Hispanic America, Asian America to do things for Black America.
Wow.
We have to do that for ourselves.
Come on, bro.
So that's why I know when Andy and Sylvia, when you're put in that position, we have to make sure you succeed. I have a young lady that I work with as well, and I'm going to get her on. I want you to meet her. Her name is Darlene Smith. She's doing a little skit now called, and it's an old lady in it called Ernestine. And I watched it the other day, and when I was just in here dying laughing. But what made me think about that is when we collectively start to let the skills and our talents be seen, then we network with one another. If you need me to hold lights for this event, I will.
No, I appreciate that. That's good. That's the beauty. Well, you know, Rodney, and that's the whole thing. I think even going back to Zena, they were there for me when I was just doing my shows. So I've always reached out to the community to use the people that are there. Because comedy is that way. And I want to say this, PTP, positive thinking people, comedy fits right in there because comedy is positive.
Right.
So you come to a comedy club maybe because you had a bad day or you're angry. The beauty of a comic is sometimes do a joke and it takes you out of that negative. And people call it our club sometimes saying, you know what, I really need that. And that's why we want to continue to do not only stand up, bring in the history of great people, but I know when people hear comedy, it changes their life. For example, I just wanted to give a shout out to my grandmother who was 96 just last week, and she makes the best chocolate cake in the world. That's and she cross-eyed and can't read the recipe. No, well, I say that because last week she made a cake and it called for 2/3 cups of sugar. Grandma thought it said 23 cups of sugar. By the time that sugar cooked in, everybody was hanging out. Crackheads, knocking on the window. Grandma, I don't have a slice of that cake.
Oh my God.
Just a little humor to say
Man,
out of that negative mood.
I had to notice it. So this is, again, we talking about things that connect. Let me show you how Andy, this is Andy, right? So when I met Zena and I met Rachel, we were talking and everything, and so of course I brag about different people I know, and somehow or another your name came up. So I was like, oh shoot, yo, that's like family. I had to, Andy, he helped me get my wife. I had to let them know. I was like, yo, I can give, if you need to talk to Andy Evans, I can talk to him, you know. So that was amazing that all the things that you have done in the past, man, that's just show you. I didn't know her from Adam and Eve. Matter of fact, you know, we met at a cabaret on her birthday, and but the whole thing, when we got to talking, and I realized what I do, because I've been doing production for some years now, and then Andy's name came up. And I was like, who? I mean, is there anybody that don't know him? and they were starting to talk about the work they did with
Bill
you.
collectors, they really don't know. I changed my name. My name is Abdul Rahman.
But I was like,
Andre in French.
I was just so shocked that how many people knew you, and the legacy that you had already established. I'm talking many years ago. See, we laugh and stuff, but I am a very serious person, and I commend you honestly. And I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of people don't take what I do real serious, but when I called you, he didn't hesitate. He gave me positive feedback, and then he decided he's gonna bring this talented black queen as well.
Yes,
And so that said a lot for me, and that's why I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. It's real talk. People to people, power to power, power to people. I have my guest here. And I know we've been going and going. Let me tell you something. You know, we don't go on scripts here. Hey, Rachel, we just kind of forgot you was on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Rachel. Go ahead.
I have a question for Sylvia. I'm thinking about the young people that's out there listening. I would like for you to give them advice concerning about getting into the business and the integrity pertaining to going over contracts and stuff like that as a comedian.
I'm probably the worst person ever. I signed a contract with Red Fox, didn't get no lawyer, signed one with, I actually didn't sign one with Saturday Night Live. But I think, in my opinion, I think, especially young folks, if you have to have a passion for this. You can't just look up one day and say, oh, I'm going to do that.
Right.
And go out and try to do it without a built-in passion.
Right.
So if the passion's not there, I used to do a little small comic conference. And the first thing I would do is I would tell everybody, look in the room. You know, like I may have started 35, 40 years ago. I would say, look in the room at all the people in here. I want you to remember all their faces. In 10 years, I want you to think about who's still in the game and who's not.
Right.
Because everybody that you see in this room, everybody doesn't have that passion.
Right.
So I'm not saying if and you had said something serious earlier, Rodney, about you can't just, they're born.
Yeah.
Remember you were saying
Right,
how
right.
stars are born?
Storm, yeah.
You can't, I'm not going to say you can't because I don't know. I haven't experienced it yet. But it's a little difficult, in my opinion, for an artist to decide that they're going to be funny because they've been at their cookouts and barbecues and people think, what's funny, I don't know what. If it's not there, because it's a hard business.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation
Right.
going on with entertainment. You don't just get up and the next thing you know, in about 3 weeks or 3 months, you at 100 million.
Right.
Not that, it just doesn't happen.
That's right.
I can't tell you, Rachel, how many comedians have said to me over my 50 years, oh shoot, I ain't gonna take no 5 or 6 years to make it. I'm gonna make it in 2-3 months. And after 5 years, no, I ain't doing it. And I have yet, other than I think Cat Williams, maybe one person that put a tag on time. And I'm not saying that he's the only one. That I'm just saying he's the only one that I know of.
Right.
I just think that if it's no use in even pursuing it if the passion isn't there, because this industry, especially the comedy industry, will kick your. Oh, it's going to kick your butt. You are going to get your butt kicked. When I say that, I mean, what do people call it when you get on stage and you bomb? I don't know anybody that's never bombed.
Right.
I just don't. I mean, there may be some people out here that never bombed, but I don't know. All the people that I've coached and mentored and been around, you just bomb. And you got to have some real thick skin
Yes.
to take a hit like that because
Yes.
it will sit you
Damn.
down. So
That's why I said that stars are not made; they're born.
Right.
Because if it's in you and the right person see you, they can bring it out of you.
Right.
If it ain't in you, ain't nothing you can do about it. I don't care what it is.
Right.
So that's why when you see people like yourself, when I take you serious because this is who you are. You know.
I gotta tell you this because Andy, the first time he heard this story, he said, Sylvia, stop telling that story because it's really not you. That was back then. But I had a place. I was living in New York City, and I would go to this club every week. It was the only club that would let me get on stage. All white audience, white on everything white. The whole. But I mean, I didn't even know how to. I don't even think black audiences existed then. But I would go to this club every week, Rodney. I loved it because it was my safe place.
Mm-hmm.
The white audience always gave me a standing ovation. They always did. Every week that I went in there, they would. It was just wonderful. So this one, and I never got paid. I didn't get paid the first 10 years in the business. I got paid when I went to Europe to entertain the troops, but I didn't get paid the first 10 years. But this particular night, the owner said, Sylvia, I want to speak to you. So I went in his office and I was like, oh my God, he's going to pay me. He's finally going to give me some money. Yes, yes, yes. So, I'm all excited and I'm waiting for him to come in and talk to me. I'm sitting there and he comes in and sits behind his desk. He says, Sylvia, you know what? I'm going to give it to you straight. So I'm like, I bet it's going to be at least $10. I know it's going to be at least $10. He says, you stay. He said, your talent is not it. Your impressions don't sound like anybody. You're not funny. You just, why don't you try to do something else? So I'm sitting up there, Rodney, looking at him like, seriously? I mean, I said, but I get a standing ovation every week. And he said, Sylvia, they feel sorry for you, honey. You're a little colored girl. Folks just feel bad for you.
You're a good maid.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, I just didn't know what to do. I was so broken. I was so broken that this man told me that I was zero. So I went home and Andy tickles me. He does inspire me when he talks about this story. But I went home that night and I thought, well, maybe because white people are so nice. They're kind with audiences. They clap for you. But a black audience, if you don't bring it, you gonna catch it, okay?
Yes.
So I said, well, maybe, what else can I do? Then I thought about it. There was nothing else I could do. This was my passion. This was what I had to do. The only thing I could do was get better.
And so what she go? Where did she go from there? She goes from those places, and then I see her one day, and I'm at work with Arbex.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I say, Sylvia, go up to Arbex and tell Rodney. Arbex is right there on Georgia Avenue. Catfish Mayfield, who was right there with Ronnie, was a host of it. That comedy club was so hard to call it the Pit. Chris Rock went up in there. They ran him off the stage. And that's how he dropped the mic and left it. But he came back, I give him credit. But it was one of the places, right, when the BYOBB, you bring your own chicken and your own food.
Yeah.
If you was good, they would give you some chicken when you came off that stage. But if you bombed, you saw a chicken wing flying past your head.
Oh, it was off the chain.
So I told Sylvia to go up there, and Ron Green and Pat Newton, who ran it, beautiful people. And I mean on the bottom floor, and just tell you how heavy this place was. The first floor had everybody from Gil Scott Hearn to Sweet Honey and the Rock to Clark Terry. Those kind of people came in from all jazz then. The second floor was a Marvin Gaye.
Right.
You went up in that room years ago. I sent Sylvia up in there. Ron stood up on the stage. Sylvia blew the stage away so much that she became a regular. It was only about 6 comics that could play that place. I mean, all of these, none of them would survive during that time. If your act was, where you get that ugly shirt, who's that fat girl on the road? You know, the comedy where you make the audience your joke.
Yeah.
Back when we started, is because somebody kept jumping in, maybe you jump on it.
Right.
So they didn't learn how to write. I ain't knocking them, but that's what you do. You do it around your buddies, you talk about somebody's funny shoes, and they laugh.
Right.
Now the guy don't pay $10, $20, and you sitting there for the next 10 minutes talking about him. You don't find you funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Sylvia had the difference she had with act. She had performance. And those who had worked on the act survived up in the pit. They gave you 5 minutes. But that kind of experience come from knowing what to do when you're in a showcase. Because Sylvia wasn't, again, telling the whole thing about her being Miss Black New York. She had to win a whole lot to get to do the finals. Bernie Standers went to Good Times. We saw Bernie Standers at the Congressional Black Caucus, just last year. And Sylvia got a chance to go over and talk to her, and they recognized each other, and they took pictures.
And we did a commercial together too. We did a national commercial together for the package.
But here's the difference in talent. After Bernie Sanders left Good Times, Hollywood crew, they didn't get black actors that's doing their work.
Right. That's true.
Sylvia is still performing. Because she was a singer, dancer, impressionist. So she wasn't just the girl with the baboon body. She was good looking, attractive, but Bernadette also had the baboon body and the look. And so she got there, but now she sells books and they want to take a picture. She takes cost you $20 to take a picture of her. Not knocking, I'm quite sure she got some money, but she didn't have another stage. Sylvia had a whole new set of stages. When she walked out of that, she walked right into the entertainment part because she was an entertainer before she got there. That's why I say it's either got to be a passion, because she couldn't have got back if she didn't.
Well, we already know that we looking at this play is going to be a success. We claim that, and we gonna see to it. We are running out of time. You know, they say when you're having fun, time flies.
Yes.
You know, but that's why I'm getting ready to do it.
Oh,
You know, I want Sylvia to. She said she had something special for me. I need you. Can you actually?
All the Gemini?
Yeah.
And all the Gemini. Give
all those names that he read, that was so exciting. I was like,
us some Ella and go for it.
Come on.
do you know who Ella Fitzgerald is?
Yes, I do.
Do you know who Ella Fitzgerald is? Well, she was considered the scat queen. And in my eyesight, I not only see her as a scat queen, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, if it wasn't for her scatting, there would be no rap.
Right.
Because rapping is scatting, and scatting is rap.
Yeah.
Rapping is scatting, scatting is rap. Rapping is scatting, scatting is rap. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Rodney Grimes, and all you too. Gemini's to you.
And she'll be doing that on the return of Jackie Mom's
Yes.
Six different women, you'll see the best of Sylvia portraying Jackie Mom's baby. So it's going to come out soon. Stay tuned with Rodney's show. Look on Facebook and we'll be announcing it real soon when the play will be. Not only for the public to see, but when it will be on live TV.
That's Real Talk. This is Real Talk Live with Rodney Grimes, and I want to tell you that it is up to us. Whereas we have individuals that's trying to give us an outlet, a way to enjoy ourselves and see our heritage and know about our past and learn about people who have opened doors for us. That's when we pay tribute by going in and making sure that it's a success. We need to make sure that we are changing the way we're doing things. I'm not a racist, but I'm a real person. And see, the way I look at it like this. When we look at all the different cultures, how they support one another, we want to know why are we in the situation we are today.
Yes.
Well, in order for us to come out of this situation, we have to uplift each other. And when we do that, believe me, every door that opens for one person opens for another. Every person that finds success, their success is yours. Remember that. People to people, power to power, positive thinking people.
Yes.
This is Real Talk Live with Rodney Grimes. I thank you, Miss Sylvia.
Thank you.
You're a blessing, my
Thank
brother.
you.
And Andy Evans.
Make them all proud to the people.
Hey.
Little Jim's is closed, so I don't want to get the chicken sandwich, by the way.
Hey, you already know, but Little Jim.
Sorry, Little Jim's closed. I don't watch our chicken sandwich, but that's okay. Catch up with TTT on a regular basis.
That's right. We'll be back. We're coming in on Friday, date night. I thank everybody who tuned in. I appreciate it.
So
Tomorrow.
Sugar's back again Wednesday. I want to throw it right back. I can give it to him. Throw the whole show back. You doing the music?
Y'all gonna come back?
No, you just got to take it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And did y'all hear me? I was trying to scoop it.
I love it, right?
He was like, he getting ready to set himself up because I was like, oh, if y'all coming back, we be here Wednesday. No, but you know what? No, that's what we do. We actually will do that. we'll run this show back on Wednesday. And again, I am actually going to get them to make a commitment. Soon as things are really, really getting ready to take off, will you promise to come back?
Oh, I'd be honored. I'd be
Yep.
delighted. Really.
Yes.
I love that whole PTP thing.
Yes.
Who came up with that? Where'd you get that? That's wonderful.
Actually, I have to say God. You know, I won't take the credit for that. My son designed the logo for me, PTP, which stands for Photo Time and Productions. I'm a professional photographer. So that's what it stood for. But then down the line, as I was networking in the community and doing some things, I started to realize that it stood for something else that was bigger than Photo Time and Production. And God has just been really. I'm not, as I tell people, I'm not a minister, but I do praise God and I put God in everything that I do.
Amen. Good for you.
I'm not a teacher because I ain't gonna get no certificates to be taking on no title like that, nor a doctor. But I tell you, and I tell them I'm not a preacher, but I am a motivational speaker. And when I say that, because when I say things, it's to motivate you and to elevate you. So I can claim that title. And I know that my heart is pure in what I do. And so that's where the PTP came from. People to people, me, you, and them. The power to power. The power you possess on that stage, the power you possess to put her in that position, and the power that I possess to pull us together to make sure that it's a success. And then we take that power and move it in another direction, what causes us to become what? Positive thinking people. I'll see y'all again. Y'all take it easy. I love you. Much respect. Remember that Cash App. Tomorrow my birthday. For real.